Hey y'all, it's Kim again. This is the Robert Hur Classified Documents report against Joe Biden. And this is video 2 for that on chapter 12. So anyway, we're going to continue right here on page 239. It says, all that said, we expect Mr. Biden's defense at trial to remain fairly simple. According to McGrail, the only thing he recalls telling Mr. Biden about the disposition of his records was that all his records will go to the National Archives after the administration to separate personal from presidential records. But Grell says he never spoke to Mr. Biden about classified notes or how they should be stored. From this, Mr. Biden will likely claim that McGrail outlined a cautious arrangement, not a legal requirement, to treat all his records as presidential records until the archives could sort out what was personal. But Mr. Biden will likely say he never believed his notebooks, which he thought of as his personal diaries, fell within the arrangement. He treated the notebooks marked differently from the rest of his notes and other presidential records throughout his vice presidency. For example, allowing staff to store and review his note cards, but not his notebooks. This treatment, he will argue, and the extremely personal content of some of the notebooks show that he considered them to be his personal property. Mr. Biden's notebooks included gut-wrenching passages about his son's death and other highly personal material. His claim that he believed he did not need to send that or send what he considered to be his personal diary to be stored at a government facility will likely appeal to some jurors. We expect Mr. Biden also to contend that the presence of classified information in what he viewed as his diary did not change his thinking. As a member of the exclusive club of former presidents and vice presidents, Mr. Biden will claim that he knew such officials kept diaries and he knew or expected that those diaries, like Mr. Reagan's, contained classified information. He also understood that former presidents and vice presidents took their diaries home upon leaving office without being investigated or prosecuted for it. Thus, whatever McGrail now thinks of the matter, Mr. Biden will claim that it did not occur to him to store what he thought of as his personal diaries, which he held close for 8 years at the National Archives, and he certainly did not know that by failing to do so, he committed a crime. Contemporaneous evidence from immediately after the vice presidency supports this defense. In a recorded conversation with Zwanitzer on April 26, 2017, 3 months after leaving office, Mr. Biden said the following. Mr. Biden, I told him by personal aid, I guess he checked with you in order for me to get all those presidential notes I had for lunch. The luncheon meetings, I have to go to McGrail. Assistant, yes, McGrail has them. We were supposed to turn it in, and that is the last person who had them. And here's more footnotes. You can read those. Mr. Biden. Okay, see if you can get me McGrail on the line while I have you now, okay? And stay on, okay? Assistant, got it, sir. Hold on. Monitor, this is probably something that goes to the presidential papers. Mr. Biden, I don't think so. It was in between. I didn't want to turn them in. Monitor, right, so it's the gray area. This exchange concerned Mr. Biden's handwritten note cards, which, like his notebooks, address both personal and official matters, and which also contain classified information. The evidence suggests, as explained above, that McGrail decided the classified notebooks or note cards should be stored at the National Archives after the administration, with Mr. Biden telling Zwanitzer he did not want to do so. But when Zwanitzer suggested that the note cards might be presidential papers, that is, presidential records that are required by law to be stored at the National Archives, Mr. Biden disagreed. Mr. Biden explained that he did not think he was required to turn in the note cards and that he had not wanted to do so. One interpretation of this exchange that the evidence permits is that while Mr. Biden followed McGrail's advice to store the classified note cards in his gift at the archives, he did not believe he was required to. And he thought that at most, the note cards fell into an in-between or gray area. Indeed, when interviewed, McGrail recalled that he advised Mr. Biden to turn over all his records, whether personal or not, to the National Archives. McGrail's advice was premised on a desire to avoid taking a constrained view of the Presidential Records Act requirement, as McGrail believed former Vice President Dick Cheney had, and the understanding that archivists would review Mr. Biden's notes and separate presidential records from the rest. McGrail also said he believed that the notes were to be stored in a SCIF at the archives due to their general sensitivity, not because they were classified. At trial, Mr. Biden would argue that the 2017 Zwanitzer recording is the best evidence of what he believed after the vice presidency, and it shows he did not believe he was legally required to store his note cards at the archives, and that he thought the same about his notebooks. In this way, the Zwanitzer recording dovetails with Mr. Biden's expected defense at trial that the Presidential Records Act defined his notebooks as his personal property, and that the act authorized him to keep these, you can look through all that, notebooks in his home, even if they contain classified information. That Mr. Biden was mistaken in his legal judgment is not enough to prove he acted willfully, which requires intent to do something the law forbids. The defense will buttress these claims by contending that other credible authorities, including at least one former president and the Department of Justice, also have concluded that a former president may keep handwritten notes even if they contain classified information. As discussed in Chapter 10, the clearest historical example is President Reagan, who left the White House in 1989 with 8 years' worth of handwritten diaries, which he kept at his private home in California. The Reagan diaries contain classified information such as entries recounting National Security Council meetings and referencing highly sensitive intelligence sources and methods, including human sources and signals intelligence. Some entries that addressed sensitive subjects include descriptions such as top secret and very hush hush, and some entries remained classified top secret as of 2007, decades after Mr. Reagan wrote them. As we also described in Chapter 10, during the Poindexter litigation in 1989 and 1990, after Mr. Reagan's presidency, the Department of Justice took the position in public court filings that the diaries were both classified or currently classified, and Mr. Reagan's personal records that were not in the archive's possession. In a later written order, the district court, after conducting an in-camera review of diary excerpts, I don't know what that means, describes the diaries as containing classified and highly sensitive information, including an entry about a certain top secret and extremely sensitive activity. This in-camera review is what I'm talking about. I don't know what that means. Okay, I'll have to look that up. After these legal declarations by the department and the court, the classified diaries remained in Mr. Reagan's private home for another 15 years until he died in 2004. And even though the Department of Justice publicly acknowledged that Mr. Reagan treated the diaries as personal records and they were not in possession of the National Archives, to our knowledge, neither the department nor anyone else sought the diaries' return or initiated a criminal investigation. In short, there will be evidence at trial that at least one former president did what Mr. Biden now claims it was proper for him to do too: take his diaries home after leaving the White House. Even though the diaries contain classified information. As indicated by letters we have received from the White House counsel's office and Mr. Biden's personal attorneys, the defense will argue that the Department of Justice blessed this view in Mr. Reagan's case by stating in public filings that the diaries were both classified in Mr. Reagan's personal records, and by taking no recovery or enforcement action, most jurors would likely find this president and Mr. Biden's claim reliance on it. Evidence of which we expect would be admitted at trial to be compelling evidence that Mr. Biden did not act willfully. The government could reply that whatever the reasons of the Department of Justice's inaction in Mr. Reagan's case, including perhaps that former presidents have Secret Service protection indefinitely after leaving office, or simply that officials at the department did not realize Mr. Reagan stored his diaries at home, the relevant executive order and controlling regulations require former presidents and vice presidents to store classified information in a secured location after their time in office. While we agree with this statement of the law, we recognize that the Reagan president is from a different era with a different legal landscape. We think jurors assessing Mr. Biden's guilt and intent will be persuaded less by what the government says in executive orders and agency relations, and more by what the government actually has done or not done by way of enforcement among the small group of former presidents and vice presidents. Many jurors would conclude that given the department's treatment of Mr. Reagan, who kept his classified diaries for more than a decade before his death, it would have been plausible for Mr. Biden to believe he could properly keep his classified notebooks. Citing the relevant sources of law likely would not sway such juries for their conclusion. All right, I'm going to stop it right here. We just have maybe like 6 more pages of this. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.